If you're looking for a really high-end chipper club, then check out the Tour Edge. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I've really fallen in love with chipper clubs. It's kind of funny because when you do get out there and people don't have them in their bag, and then you hit a really good chip with this, which actually is pretty easy, people always are amazed and awed by it. They're like, great shot, man! Great bump and run, great up and down! And you're thinking, well, dude, it's kind of a little bit like just putting with a lofted club. Now, I would say that I have picked up a number of them, and I grabbed this Pine Meadow one here because this is really popular, it's inexpensive, and I really actually liked it because I want to compare it to this one. This is the Tour Edge HL4 Chipper, and what I like about Tour Edge is that they make a lot of clubs. They're actually a pretty big company right here in the Chicago area, it's my understanding, and I was actually excited to see that they make a chipper because not a lot of companies do. And I assumed that just like their other products, which are pretty nice, they seem to make pretty premium products at pretty affordable prices, that I was hoping that this one would be that too. Now, it's not a super cheap club. I think I paid like $69 or $70 for it. So it's not expensive by any means, but it's a little more expensive than like the Pine Meadow, which is only about $40 or $45. But there are some differences with this, and I'm kind of excited. First of all, it does come with this head cover, which is kind of nice. It's like this vinyl head cover, and it's Velcroed on there, so you don't have to worry about getting the club dinged up. I will say a lot of people like me are less concerned about dinging up this club than just because of how big it is. It's almost kind of like a small wood in some ways, that it might ding up some of my other clubs, and especially because it's relatively short. I think this is only 34 or 34 and a half inches long. It sits pretty low in the bag, and what I don't want is this large wide head kind of banging into my iron shafts, which are graphite, because those are just going to be more delicate. So I do like the fact that it comes with a head cover. This comes with an iron shaft. It looks pretty standard, and it's a 35-inch shaft, and it comes with their grip, which is actually pretty nice. And I will show you that on the back here, it looks like it is stitched on the back. It's got kind of this like suction cup design on the backside, which is kind of nice. It gives you some good feel, good texture underneath where your fingers are going to be. And then on the front, it's kind of just like a smooth rubber, but it's very grippy. I will say that I think it's kind of like, just based on the way it's built, maybe like one of those EVA foams with a PU or polyurethane cover on top of it, as opposed to it being like a thick rubber, like a golf pride grip like this. And so it's probably one for weight, but it seems like it's a really nice little grip, which is cool. And if it's light, it kind of gives you a little bit more perceived head weight down here. Now, the head is actually pretty cool looking. You can see how big it is, and I'm going to do a little comparison, and it's really nicely made. You have these really polished edges here, the whole bottom here where it says HL4, and that 4 is in kind of a neon green. That's all polished. It looks beautiful. You've got this black matte finish on the rest of it, hot launch and chipper, kind of in color-filled white right there. And then the top part is all gloss black painted, even up to the hosel right there, which is kind of nice. Now, I will say I'm looking at this, and I do have a little bit of chipped paint right here. That's not a big issue for me because I'm not so worried about the looks here, but you know, depending on the retailer that sold me this, you know, it went from probably manufacturer to distributor to retailer, and so, you know, it's probably been around the block a little bit. But otherwise, everything else looks pretty nice. We also have a big white line here flanked by kind of neon green line, so it's very visible. So there's a decent amount of loft on it. I kind of prefer the 45-degree faces, but these 37 degrees doesn't really seem to behave that much differently, which is kind of funny. The 37 degrees from the 45 degrees. And I think this is basically like a 7 or an 8 iron type of loft, but obviously in like a putter format. Now, I do want to kind of flip it forward here, and I want to show you how far on the edge the hosel is. Now, in some of these chippers, the hosel kind of comes up a little bit more like a putter, and so it's more in line with the center, which I kind of feel like would reduce the torque when you are swinging through it. This is more traditional club setup here, and it's probably not my preference to have the shaft kind of way on that edge, but it seems to work just fine. And the other thing I want to show you here is if I flip the club head up like this so you're looking down on it, what you might be able to see is that the shaft basically is kind of in line with the middle of the face. So this is not offset, and that's a difference between the Pine Meadow where the face is offset. It's kind of almost completely behind the shaft. So if I hold this up here, you can see that the face is set back there. And I actually kind of prefer this a little bit. You know, I would say that I have used this Pine Meadow one with pretty good success, and I think it's a great value. But I actually like this because if I hold them up here, you might be able to see that the Tour Edge one is a little bigger. That might be a little bit of a trade-off because you might want a smaller head to kind of cut through the grass if you're chipping out of the rough, but I think you get more mass down low, which will help carry the club through the swing and the shot. So for me, I like more mass behind the ball, especially because some of these shots are not very long. You know, sometimes I'm only bringing the club head back, you know, 12, 18 inches to just get a little bump and run. Now, I will say I have played with this, and you absolutely can take either a full swing, you can do that, or even kind of like a larger half swing and, you know, put this thing out there 20, 30 yards. So it definitely works like that. And I've even played these out of the bunker as well, and they seem to be just fine. There are also some grooves on the face here, so you should get maybe a little bit of spin if you're kind of hitting the ball with some authority, which is kind of nice too. But overall, this is a pretty nice looking club, and it feels great and plays pretty nicely. So I really dig this. If you want to pick up this Tour Edge chipper, I will put a link to it in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.